Joining me now is Fox News senior strategic analyst and the chairman of the Institute for the Study of War, General Jack Keane. And General, you have been front and center in all of this as we watch the developments. What are you expecting over the near term?
Well, I think right in front of us, after this successful strike, is does this war end at the negotiating table, or does it end on the battlefield? And a couple of things from the Iranians' perspective. They have their own time schedule now, Maria, in terms of what are they going to do. And I'll discuss some options that I think they have. And also, I think a major factor in their options will be what remains of their nuclear enterprise and their ballistic missile infrastructure. Those are the two key targets that Israel's been after, and obviously the nuclear enterprise, we supported that rather significantly. So I think when you look at this, the Iranians got 4 options. One, you've already mentioned it, and that is to come to the negotiating table based on President Trump's offer. And certainly that would mean dismantling completely whatever remains of the nuclear enterprise, the ballistic missile program. That would mean 100% verification by independent inspectors. And I think other things that would be put on the table by the administration is once and for all stop all support to your proxies and change your malign and aggressive behavior in the region. In other words, the fact that you're trying to dominate and control the region and destabilize it, that's over. And we're not going to cut a deal with you until that kind of fundamental change takes place. Then we would consider ceasefire, and then we would consider sanctions relief. The second thing that's available to them is just continue what they're doing, Maria. In other words, continue to attack Israel and continue to defend against that as best as they can. I think these first 2 options are probably, they're welcome options, the first one for sure, but both of them, I think, are likely unlikely. The third option is a limited symbolic response against the United States. Similar to what we did post-Qasem Soleimani, the Iranians fired ballistic missiles at our bases in Iraq, at 2 bases. The Iraqi Shia militia are right there on the border with Iran. It's easy to transfer rockets and missiles to them, and also drones that they could use to attack our bases. That's the easiest basis for them to attack. And they could do a symbolic attack in their minds, you know, to curb and restrain some of the humiliation that the regime is feeling as a result of what has taken place for the last week plus. That is certainly a possibility. That the Straits of Hormuz could be part of that limited response. They could try to shut down the Persian Gulf. They've never been able to do it in the past. They won't be able to do it now. If they did, it would be only very temporary. Look at the United States, airport power and maritime sources are right there. They begin to do it. We're going to interfere and stop them rather quickly. And then the other option is an unrestrained, consequential attack on the United States bases in the region. What the intent is to kill Americans and really seek retribution. And that would be a result of the humiliation that they feel and the passion that they feel to really do something about it, and the urging from the hardliners around the regime saying you've got to respond to this in a strong way. They also could bring in some of the Arab states and hit oil fields, et cetera, as they promised to do.
Yeah.
Certainly any attack on the United States, whether it's symbolic and limited or an unrestrained consequential attack, if Americans are hurt in this process, believe me,
it's over.
This regime has been told that the United States is coming with everything that they have. And there will be, everything will be on the table. That'll be the economic and energy targets, oil fields, gas, power plants, and literally, I think also the civilian leadership would be on the target, in addition to all the targets that the Israelis have been hitting and need to be cleaned up themselves.
Well, I mean, it seems to me that, you know, after this successful strike, it's a message to Iran. We can come at you anytime, anywhere. And at this point, it's President Trump's terms, right? I mean, you know, this negotiation is over. I mean, President Trump is now setting the terms. He's got the cards. And yet they're still trying to message out that they have leverage with the Straits of Hormuz. You know, I mean, and when I spoke with the Secretary of State yesterday, Marco Rubio, he went right to China as an encouragement to say, look, make sure they don't shut this down. Watch this. Do you expect Iran to move to close the Strait of Hormuz to try to disrupt oil transportation across the world?
Well, I encourage the Chinese government in Beijing to call them about that because they heavily depend on the Straits of Hormuz for their oil. If they do that, it'll be another terrible mistake. It's economic suicide for them if they do it. And we retain options to deal with that. But other countries should be looking at that as well. It would hurt other countries' economies a lot worse than ours. It would be, I think, a massive escalation that would merit a response, not just by us, but from others. We had 3 objectives. We struck those 3 objectives with decisive force. And that was the point of this mission, and that's what we achieved. What happens next will depend on what they do. They want to negotiate, we're ready to negotiate. They want to get cute and do things that are dangerous, we have responses available that are devastating.
But, General, he also said that, you know, he's tired of the Iranians constantly wanting indirect talks, right? He said, we want direct talks. That's another thing that the Iranians have done. They always say we're not going to talk specifically or directly to the United States. Marco Rubio yesterday said that's over. Yeah. Your reaction to that?
Well, I think high time for that. I don't think we should have done indirect talks in the past anyway. But we all knew these talks weren't going anywhere because there was no... What our viewers have to understand is what the Iranians have done in creating a nuclear enterprise. There's nothing like it in the world. They built it at 12-plus sites so it would have resiliency and redundancy, so it could survive an attack. They saw an attack in the future, and they built this enterprise to include its underground facilities, absorb the attack, survive it, recover from it, and rebuild. That is why they would not voluntarily dismantle it. Right from the outset, they were willing to experience what they just experienced. Now, it's much more devastating, I think. They were counting on maybe it's Israel only and not the United States. Right. But the president stepped up for all the reasons we have said time and time again. He gave them the warning, and he told them he would follow through. And I think they had some doubt about whether he would execute that or not. And they were betting on the fact that we would not do it. But obviously, he promised he would do it, and he fulfilled that promise. He deserves a lot of credit for bold leadership in executing this plan.
Yeah, he sure did. General, I got to ask you about what we're hearing out of Russia now, because the former president there, President Medvedev, is now warning that, quote, multiple countries are still poised to provide Iran with nuclear warheads, General. Can you imagine in the middle of this, this is what Medvedev comes out and says?
Yeah. You know, these guys, their narrative goes on and on and on. I mean, I guess they think we're just stupid, you know. During the Biden administration, to get them from providing full throttle support to the Ukrainians, they were always waving the nuclear flag. This is what it's going to lead to if you provide this weapon system. If you give them long-range missiles, we're going to use nukes. And every time they threatened it, and every time Biden finally came through, it would have been much better if they gave the Ukrainians everything they needed when they needed it. It was an empty threat. This is an empty threat. Russia is not going to provide nuclear weapons to Iran. And look, Iran has never been more isolated, Maria. China and Russia have given them, Iran's in a desperate situation. They're literally, their survival as a regime, you can see is happening as they get weakened every single day. And there's got to be internal pressure on them. No support from China, no support from Russia. What is absolutely stunning, no support from their proxies, particularly Hezbollah, who was organized for the principal reason to defend Iran against Israel. 150,000 missiles. I asked our senior leader in the IDF, do they still have missiles? Yes, General, they do, thousands of them. Why haven't they responded? Here's the answer. They've lost their will to fight because we decapitated their leadership. That is stunning. Iran sits there by itself, no help coming.
Fascinating. General, thank you so much. Great to talk with you.
Yeah, great talking to you, Maria. Thank you.
All right, General Jack Keane with us. We'll be right back.